Good morning, welcome back to the Freedman Garden. Now, I didn't do a video last week, that was my fault, for bringing the camera with me. So this week we're going to do a little bit of a catch up from last week and see what we're going to do this week, and I'll show you how we can do that a bit later on. It's a very cold morning here. I'll just zoom around, you can see still in shadow. We had a bit of a frost last night, not too bad, only down to about 1, maybe 0. But it means we have to wait for the sun to warm everything up. It's doing it slowly, as you can see behind me. The trees are quite happy at the minute in sunlight, and as we go around you see a bit of a sun pocket there, which is nice and helpful. So what we'll do is switch cameras, and then we're going to go through in the polytunnel what we did last week that it wasn't videoed. 2 ticks. Okay, that failed. The camera lied to me this morning saying it was full battery, but it didn't, so I'm guessing Beatrice must have killed it when she was playing around. So we're just going to go back to where we were and carry on with this camera. 2 ticks. So yeah, this is the current compost bin. As you can see, a lot of leaves on top last time. A few bits of rotting bits in there. A bit of greenery we had found out the other day, another week. Another week or so, that'll be ready for turning. So we'll go through first of all what we did last week. So the main things we did, it took me nearly an hour to do, was move this fig tree. You remember from one of the previous videos, it was right in the middle behind that olive. I'll just walk down there. It was next to this grape right here. And there was an olive and a fig, in that area. A poor olive in the corner had no chance. When I dug the fig out, the roots were literally all the way around the back of the thing, out the back. So this is the first tip for you. If you're going to grow figs, which is not a problem in this country, restrict the roots. Now I haven't done that with this one yet, but that's the plan. I have a blue barrel on the way out the polytunnel, I'll show you in a minute, which we're going to do a sort of halo and give it plenty of root space, but it will stop this little grape from getting, we'll give it some space and stop anything else in that area from being restricted, at least down to about 6 to 8 inches, which should give the rest of the soil around it plenty of space, and I'll be able to grow lettuce and things around us, use up the space a little bit better. Obviously this row of onions is doing really well. This was some red onions that were planted at the far end of the polytunnel back, oh crikey, June, July time last year, obviously middle of summer. They didn't grow for whatever reason. We dug them out and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to bung them in this end. This is where we grew the tomatoes last year, and they've been ever happy ever since, and they've grown really, really well. So as I mentioned before, we moved the other olive from over here next to the grapes, so that's got plenty of space and light now, to here. And I'm going to chop down this board. It's only a little bit too long, but another time I'm going to chop down that board so it fits in, and then I can restrict the roots to this little area. Again, they're like a little bit poor soil and not too much space, so that's going to have it it's going to be a little bit of frost damage and other bits, so I might have to look at looking after it, but it's the wrong time of year to prune it, so I'm not going to do it just yet. Likewise this one, I'm going to put some leaves down for now. I'm going to restrict its root growth from that. I'll move that board and put it this side. It's going to have a little bit more space, but then that's because we don't use the other end. That was the girls, but they don't really use it. So then I also covered all the beds as much as I could with just dry leaves that we had in the compost bin from the leaf mould. It's not ready yet, but I showed last year with the far end that all you need is just leaves, and I will help rebuild the soil, plenty of water in it, and it'll be happy. So these have been drying out, and then what we'll do is just trample all over them, and it'll break them up because they're nice and dry. And obviously we've had a few frosts, and you can see crush up usually quite happily, and then once they're crushed up, it's actually that tiny little bit that's helping them. So that bed, all of this lot's a good couple of inches of leaves. I mean, you can see how far the soil went down with the fig. Literally it's dried the soil out from that post pretty much all the way to here. So that's how much water and moist food that they take out of the ground. But anyway, leaves, again, we've done all the way down here. We've got one broccoli plant that's still alive. We've taken all the other ones out. You can just about see, there's the head peeking out. So hopefully we'll have some more broccoli later on. But we did have the broccoli we transplanted from the allotment when we gave that up. We put it in here. put them in here, but they weren't doing great. They were slowly getting there, but we need to prepare this bed ready for this growing season, so I took the chance on just removing those. Now, that's pretty much all we did last week. It doesn't sound like a lot, but moving that fig and the olive was a real pig. So moving forward, what we want to do this year is, we've got 2 bars across here, is take this one, move it over to about here-ish, so it's not too far off the end of the bed. You can see my hand just there, so it's not quite the end of the bed, probably about there, and then have the back of one row of tomatoes down this side, hanging off of that pole, and then we've got the other side. That one's pretty far towards the back, that one's alright, I'm happy with that one. It also means that the grapes, we're hanging them off of, obviously they're going to trail as they already are. You can see this white one up here is doing really well. It's got 2 sets. It gives them a bit more space, but also means that we can go across the middle with these, we'll put a lot of bamboo poles like this one. And there's also normal support bars, which it'll be hanging off of both of them. And all we do is we just take off one of these, like we've done with this one. This is the first one we did. And then it meets in the middle with the black one. The black one's had not much space, so I need to do something with the fig at the minute, at some point with that one. That's a later project. We can see up here we've got beginnings of another one that we can take from there all the way to the middle of here, where my hand is. We don't want it too close to the middle, because we found last year we were hitting our heads off of bunches of grapes on the way past, so we don't want to get too close. So that's one project for later in the year, in about a month's time. And today's project is the one I've been waiting for and trying to do. What we're going to do is to first of all clear this whole area. Now under here was 2 compost bins, so we're going to take all this growth off, shred it, put it through shredder and put it in the compost. Same with all these kitchen scraps, they can just go straight in the compost. Underneath there, hopefully, move this, there might be, you can see some decent compost in there. So what we do is take that compost that doesn't have any more weeds in it, and we're going to keep that in one pile, and we're going to start the next no dig bed, because this was the no dig sweet corn bed last year. It's lost a bit of height this year over the winter. We need a top up of compost on there, but we put red onions. You can see one probably just about peeking out. There's a couple that have been dug up, so we put some outdoors and some indoors. Right around from here all the way down to the gate, probably up to the edge of that second compost bin, just so we can open the gate halfway, 3/4 of the way out to about where that slab is, and then out, and then all the way down here. It's going to be growing space. But we also need to get this today, main reason we're moving this compost is we need to get this drainage channel in. Luckily the ground's frozen, luckily it's frozen at the minute. So at the minute you can see this is where we had a lot of water. It's frozen at the minute, it's all crunchy, but we're going to hopefully start digging that out, digging it all the way down past me, and then bringing it out underneath this last pit, where this last space was, roughly where this patch of grass is, because there's already a drainage channel down here, and I don't know where it goes, but it basically goes underneath the edge of the polytunnel, out the other side and into the beck. So that's today's main objective. Another long-term project, and this is something I've been looking up online recently. Those of you into permaculture will know about keyline watering and regenerative agroforestry. This space out here, where these IBC crates are, I'm hoping to bring out the edge of the woodland with a few new trees, start bringing it out further out, and then same with down here. You know, we've got the trees have been thinned out quite a bit down here, and I plan to plant a lot more trees down here. We've got some oak and other bits that we want to put out, some horse chestnut, which are a bit protected, and then hopefully maybe either later this year or next year get some woodland pigs down here, because they will absolutely love this, with a bit of woodland down here, a bit of shade. Contain them as far probably as the other end of the polytunnel. There's some poles down there. We'll put an electric fence down there to the beck, so they can't go in the beck. And then that will be a new pig run, hopefully. And then possibly this year we're going to have chickens, pasteurised chickens out here. free range, they can have the whole field because nobody else really needs it. But yeah, if I can create some woodlands and some shade down here. Now, as far as keyline watering goes, let's go out into the field. I can't do an awful lot up here because it's not really, we haven't got a keyline plough. But if you want to have a look into keyline, go search it. It was developed in the 50s by an Australian called Pierre Yeomans. And what it is you're following the contours of the land, digging channels to keep the water in land rather than letting it run off the land as it were, as it is now. I mean, you can see by types of grass. You can see, I don't know, the camera's picking this out, but there's different types of grass, and these ones here, and particularly down there, is where all the water pools. Because you can tell that just by the landscape. It's going to come off the water, it all funnels down, and it all collects mostly here. So it might be that we bring the woods out, as I mentioned, starting in the corner there, where near the post, bringing out the woodlands, probably even to this line. Obviously being careful of the electricity wires around here to create a nice little pool. It's got an earthen bank already there. So if we use that, build up the sides, and then create a nice little water collection pond there, it might be a plan. Because then we can use the water and direct some of it down to using the polytunnel of the gardens, but more importantly it's just good for animals and wildlife. And chickens love water, pigs love water, and if you've got it at a hand it's a lot easier. Excuse me. Now obviously the contours of this land, you can see how steep it is. I can't do much gardening on this. However, my eyes are set on that field over there in the distance, and that's something that I might look at in a year or two if I'm doing alright with this polytunnel. I've got a few little things I want to do. I can't do full market gardening and that. I don't think there's a market for it here, no pun intended. However, what I would consider doing, especially with the piggies, is woodland pigs and the meat as a specific organic enterprise, and that's something, and the chickens as well, and that's something I want to look into. So the first step is going to be get some trees down here, not so much to stabilise the bank, but to create cover and to make it look better. I love trees, never have enough trees. Since we can't do the ground just yet because it's a bit frozen, what we're going to do is clear away all that rubbish that's on top, get it sorted out, put this back because you can see the compost is starting to spill out. So we're going to take the door off of this and slide it back and push it back in. And then we're also going to start clearing this lot because we've got all these grasses and that needs to come out and go in the shredder, because we've already started with the raspberries down there, and we're going to carry on where these boards are all the way down the raspberry hedge, all the way down to the corner and round the corner just to the gate. We love raspberries, we've got plenty of raspberries, so we need to clear that lot. So we've got quite a lot to do today, not much time to do it in as usual. So what we'll do is we'll take some pictures as we get going, and then we'll come back and do a bit at the end before we have to go find a mini-me and pick her up from school. So I'll catch up with you in a bit. So to those of you who might be new to no-dig gardening, this is something I did last year. I am not, I will repeat, not the master at this. If you want to know who he is, look up a man called Charles Dowding. He started doing this back in the 80s after he looked at someone called Ruth Stout doing hay, growing in hay and mulching with it, and then he looked at it and thought, well, that's a good idea, let's take it one step further. So the first step you want to do, and this is what I learnt last year, and I will give you this tip for free, is get yourself some cardboard. But you've got two choices. You can either do as I've got, as you can see down here, cardboard with no sellotape. Ink's not too bad these days, but if you get sellotape, take it off, because as you can see here, I didn't last year. The camera's going to pick that out. You can see I've been picking out sellotape from cardboard ever since. Staples you can sort of live with, as you can see down there, but yeah, sellotape, it's not good. Even if you use, especially if you use it in compost, I've made that mistake before. Just put that indoors ready for the bin. So what you want to do is decide where your beds are going to be. I've already started out the back here. So as you can see, this was last year's sweet corn bed. It's a bit small, it has shrunk a bit. I did make a mistake last year and I put 2 pallets and started trying to grow in the pallets with leaf mould and compost on top, but it didn't work, suffice to say. So we're going full no dig. Now I've overlapped mine. It's a very good idea to do that because you can see we've got some little docks and lots of weeds and other bits and pieces. So all I've done, I haven't really raked the ground, you can see, just put the cardboard straight on the ground. I've raked it a little bit just to get rid of the worst of the weeds. Now obviously I've got raspberries down the back here, so I'm not going all the way to the back. I'm probably only going to go to where my foot is, about here. But I wanted plenty of space, so I might turn the cardboard around and do it the other way around, because eventually we want to come all the way out to roughly where that line is now, probably even a bit further over, we'll see. And then you want to take your compost. Now this is probably a couple of years old now. It's not great, but it's pretty good enough for now until we get our own compost. So we've got that one. I've still got 2 other compost bins to do, and then what you want to do is take the compost and spread it over your cardboard. So initial laying's about, let's say, 6 to 8 inches minimum. After that, subsequent years, you only need to add a couple of inches because you've already got that base compost. And you can see the cardboard I laid down last year just trying to get rid of some of the weeds. It's worked in some places. You can see there's no weeds here where I laid the cardboard. There's still bits of it. See, there's some more sellotape. So yeah, do yourself a favour and take the sellotape off, or get cardboard like I did from my employer. Thank you very much, for free, with no sellotape on it. So what we do is spread that compost over, and we'll come back to it in a minute and show you how it gets on. Right, so after a bit of hard work, I've cleared the space, or will we here, cleared the space so the drainage pipe can come out over there. So we've now got a nice big bed all the way down here. It's probably a good 6 to 8 foot. So you can see I've left a gap at the back because I've got the raspberries in the back in the distance, you can see. I'm going to try and get some wood chips or something as a path down the side of there. I've got a bit of weeding to do. That was last year's no dig raspberries in the corner there, so we'll do a bit of weeding in a minute to have a rest. I'll go right up to the edge and we'll put some more, again, hopefully whatever we can get hold of for the edge. It's a bit rough and ready compost. As long as you overlap the edges, and you can see I put a decent pile on there now. Obviously that will all compact and sink down a bit with the weather and birds going through it and all sorts, get the bugs. Left myself a gap at this end, obviously, so I can carry on with the next row. Even if I put a gap in between so I can get behind it, or between them, you still need to overlap the cardboard underneath. So we're going to have a bit of a rest. I'm not going to clear this pile just yet, because the plan is to have the pipe going from the edge of the gate down the outside of the compost bins, around here, and then out and away down that channel there. Found a nice piece of wood down there. I'm just about making it out in the grass there. The other issue I've got, I don't know how far it goes, is got some of this plastic is under the ground, so I need to start digging that out. It was found, these 2 pieces were found underneath there, and they had probably a piece of wood originally. You can probably just about see the rotten pieces of strands of it from probably sort of siding board or something like that. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So we'll have a little rest, and then we'll lay this pipe out and see where we go from there. Because even though it feels nice and a little bit dried out because we've had no rain for a week, we've got some more dew, and the ground is still a bit soft and squishy. So if we can dig it out, get the drainage in quickly, and then see if it works. So we've had a pretty productive day so far. We've got the 3rd compost bin in, so now we've got 3 compost bins and a leaf mould bin. We might extend that to another compost bin. I don't know, move one of these first down later in the year. We'll see how it goes. You know, I love leaf mould, so we'll see how this one goes. We've got the drainage pipe in. You won't be able to see it. It's underneath there as expected. It's not as deep as I'd like it, but it's hopefully just going to be a backup. We've got another plan in my head that I might do instead, but we'll see how that one works out. We here carried on extending the raspberries, so we've got this bucket of raspberries from the allotment when we gave that up. They've suffered for the last month, still alive just about, in really dirty stagnant water, and it's been a bit cold, so we've given them plenty of food, a bit of a drink, stuck them in there. So that's taken it probably triple the size we had now. So I don't know how many we've got now, but you can see the length of it all the way down the end there, and we give it a bit of a weed all the way to there. We stopped a bit short because obviously we've got the end of the board there, so we have to get some more board to go up to the corner and around the corner, but that's a job for another day. Other than that, we're just a good tidy up. You can see we've got a bit of space now. We cleared one of the compost piles again. We've just got that tiny little one in the middle left, and then we'll have to start using the stuff that's not quite ready, but we're going to have to use it anyway. So that's it for today. We've now got other things to get on with and find my daughter from school. And I hope you all stay happy. I'll speak to you soon.